Liam looked at Finley's worn-out sneakers and felt nothing but embarrassment. He thought he was trading up, leaving a struggling waitress for a woman draped in Gucci and driving a Porsche. He told himself he was choosing a future of power and prestige. But Liam made a fatal miscalculation. He didn't know that the poor girl he just abandoned wasn't struggling at all. She was testing him. And by the time he realized whose signature was on the checks of the empire, he desperately wanted to join. It would be far too late to say he was sorry. The rain in Seattle always felt personal. But tonight, it felt like a judgment. Finley tightened the belt of her beige thrift store trench coat, the fabric thinning at the elbows. She sat in the corner booth of Bernie's Diner, a place where the vinyl seats were cracked and the coffee tasted like burnt hazelnuts. It was their place, or at least, she thought it was. Across from her, Liam checked his watch for the third time in 5 minutes. It wasn't the cheap Casio she had bought him for their first anniversary. It was a gleaming Tag Heuer, a recent gift from a client he had been vague about. "You're not listening to me, Finley," Liam said, his voice dropping to that smooth, condescending register he used when he was explaining finance to her. "It's about trajectory. Where are we going? Where are you going?" Finley wrapped her hands around the warm mug. "We're going to the movies after this, aren't we? It's Friday." Liam sighed, a sharp exhale through his nose. He ran a hand through his perfectly gelled hair. He looked every bit the rising junior analyst at Sterling and Finch, sharp suit, sharper ambition, and eyes that were constantly scanning the room for someone more important. No movies. Not tonight. Not ever again, actually. The diner noise, clinking silverware, the sizzle of the grill seemed to vanish. "What are you saying?" "I'm breaking up with you." He said it with the same emotional detachment he used when ordering a sandwich. Is it because of the rent?" Finley stammered, playing the part she had perfected over the last 2 years. The struggling artist, the girl who counted coupons. "I know I'm short this month, but my shift at the library covers it next week." "It's not the rent, Finley. It's the mindset." Liam leaned in, his handsome face twisted in annoyance. "Look at you. You're content. You're happy with coupons and library shifts and this." He gestured vaguely at the diner. "I need a partner who elevates me. Someone who understands the world I'm trying to conquer. You're an anchor, Finley, and I'm trying to sail." Finley looked down at her hands. "No manicure, just short, clean nails. I supported you when you were an unpaid intern, Liam. I paid for your dry cleaning so you'd look good for your interviews. And I appreciate that," he said quickly, pulling out a sleek leather wallet. He extracted 3 crisp $100 bills and slid them across the sticky table. "Consider this a reimbursement for the dry cleaning and the time." Finley stared at the money. It was an insult so precise it felt like a physical slap. "You're paying me off? I'm settling debts. I don't like loose ends." Before she could answer, the bell above the diner door jingled. The atmosphere in the room shifted instantly. Heads turned. Walking into Bernie's was a woman who looked like she had taken a wrong turn on her way to a gala. She wore a cream-colored coat that probably cost more than the diner's annual revenue. Her hair was a cascading waterfall of blonde highlights, and her heels clicked with authority on the linoleum floor. It was Vanessa Kensington. Everyone in the city knew the name, or at least the last name. The Kensingtons owned half the real estate in downtown Seattle. Vanessa was the it girl of the socialite scene, known for her loud parties and even louder public breakups. Liam's posture straightened instantly. A smile, genuine and eager, broke across his face, a smile Finley hadn't seen in months. "She's here," Liam said, standing up. Finley looked from Liam to Vanessa, the pieces clicking together with sickening clarity. "The client? The one who gave you the watch?" "Vanessa gets me, Finley," Liam said, not even looking at her anymore. He was adjusting his tie in the reflection of the window. "She's a Kensington. She has connections, vision, power. She's the future." Vanessa stopped at the table, looking at the scene with mild amusement. She didn't look at Liam. She looked at Finley. Her blue eyes swept over Finley's frizzy hair and worn coat with the clinical detachment of a health inspector spotting a cockroach. "Is this her?" Vanessa asked, her voice raspy and bored. This is Finley, Liam said, stepping to Vanessa's side like a well-trained guard dog. We were just finishing up. Vanessa smirked. Cute. In a charity case sort of way. She turned to Liam. The car is running, darling, and I have a reservation at the Canlis. Don't make me wait. I'm coming, Liam said. He looked back at Finley one last time. There was no remorse in his eyes, only relief. Take the money, Finley. Buy yourself some better shoes. They walked out together. Through the window, Finley watched them get into a cherry-red Porsche Cayenne. Liam opened the door for her, slipping into the passenger seat of his new life without a backward glance. Finley sat alone in the booth. The waitress, a kind older woman named Marge, came over with a fresh pot of coffee. Honey, Marge said softly, you don't need to pay for that coffee. You just sit there as long as you need. Finley looked at the $300 still sitting on the table. Slowly, a strange expression overtook her face. The tears that had gathered in her eyes didn't fall. Instead, they seemed to evaporate, replaced by a cold, steely glint that Marge had never seen before. Finley reached into her coat pocket and pulled out a phone. It wasn't the cracked iPhone 8 she used in front of Liam. It was a Vertu, custom-made, black titanium, with a single ruby embedded in the side button. She dialed a number. It rang once. Miss Calloway? A deep, British voice answered immediately. We didn't expect to hear from you until the experiment was concluded in December. The experiment is over, Arthur, Finley said. Her voice had changed. The meek, high-pitched tone of Finley the struggling waitresses was gone. In its place was the polished, commanding contralto of Finley Genevieve Calloway, sole heiress to the Calloway, distinct mining and logistics fortune, a wealth that made the Kensington real estate portfolio look like a child's piggy bank. I see, Arthur said. Was Mr. Liam successful in the final assessment? He failed, Finley said, picking up the $300 Liam had left. She crumpled the bills in her fist, spectacularly. He thinks I'm an anchor, Arthur. An anchor, ma'am? Yes. He prefers a sailboat. He's left with Vanessa Kensington. There was a polite pause on the other end of the line. The Kensingtons? Their liquidity is questionable, based on the last quarter's reports. They are heavily leveraged in commercial retail. I know, Finley said, a small, dangerous smile playing on her lips. Come pick me up, Arthur. Not the sedan. Bring the rolls. And Arthur? Yes, Miss Calloway? Contact the acquisition team at Calloway Global. I want a full audit of Sterling and Finch. I believe we own a controlling stake in their parent company, don't we? We acquired 51% last Tuesday, ma'am. Good. Finley stood up, dropping the crumpled bills into Marge's tip jar. Tell the board I'm coming in on Monday, and tell them I'm making some personnel changes. She walked out of the diner, leaving the Finley that Liam knew behind in the grease-stained booth. The rain was still falling, but she didn't feel it anymore. She was already thinking about Monday morning. Liam wanted trajectory. She was about to give him a lesson in gravity. The weekend passed in a blur of champagne and anxiety for Liam. Life with Vanessa Kensington was exactly what he had dreamed of, yet it felt like wearing a suit that was a size too tight. Sunday brunch was at l'Orangerie, where a single omelet cost $40. Vanessa spent the entire meal on her phone, texting friends about a gala in the Hamptons, while Liam tried to ignore the way she snapped her fingers at the server for a refill on her mimosa. You're quiet, Vanessa remarked, not looking up from her screen. Don't tell me you're moping about the charity case. No, Liam lied, slicing into his truffle toast. Just thinking about work. Big week. Rumor has it, Sterling and Finch was bought out by a massive conglomerate, Calloway Global. Management is in a panic. Vanessa actually looked up then, her eyebrows arching. Calloway? That's old money, Liam. Real money. The kind that buys countries, not just buildings. If you play your cards right, you could jump from junior analyst to VP in a year. That's the plan. Liam smiled, the ambition warming his chest like whiskey. I just need to make a good impression on the transition team. Good, Vanessa said, returning to her phone. Because I don't date middle management. Monday morning at Sterling and Finch was chaos. The usual hum of the trading floor was replaced by a frantic energy. Ties were tightened, desks were cleared of personal clutter, and the smell of fear was stronger than the smell of coffee. Liam stood by the water cooler with Brad, a senior associate who had always treated Liam like a younger brother, mostly by hazing him. "You look sharp, kid," Brad said, eyeing Liam's new Italian suit. Charged to a credit card, Liam hoped to pay off with his next bonus. "Trying to impress the new overlords?" "Something like that," Liam smirked. "And I made some personal changes this weekend." "Drop the dead weight." Brad laughed. "Finally dumped the waitress? About time. You need a woman who fits the portfolio, if you know what I mean. I'm with Vanessa Kensington now." Brad choked on his water. "The Kensington heir? You're joking. How did you pull that off?" Liam adjusted his cuffs, basking in the envy. "She sees potential. Unlike Finley. Finley just wanted me to be small. She actually came to the diner on Friday, begging me for rent money. It was pathetic." "Ouch," Brad grimaced. "Well, watch out. Crazy exes have a way of showing up." As if summoned by the irony of the universe, the elevator doors at the end of the hall dinged. But it wasn't the usual staff elevator. It was the private executive lift, the one reserved for the board of directors. The floor went silent. Mr. Sterling himself, the managing partner, who usually sat in his glass office like a deity, was standing by the elevator doors, sweating profusely. "Listen up," Sterling barked. "The representative from Callaway Global is here. I want absolute perfection. If a phone rings, you're fired. If you breathe too loud, you're fired." The doors slid open. Liam craned his neck, expecting an old man in a gray suit, maybe a team of lawyers. Instead, a woman stepped out. She was wearing a tailored white pantsuit that looked like it had been sculpted from marble. Her heels were sharp enough to kill a man. Her hair, no longer frizzy but blown out into sleek, dark waves, framed a face hidden behind oversized Celine sunglasses. She didn't walk. She glided. Two large men in black suits flanked her, carrying briefcases. Liam frowned. The height. The walk. It seemed vaguely familiar. But the aura of absolute dominance was alien. The woman stopped in the center of the bullpen. She took off her sunglasses. Liam's coffee cup slipped from his hand and shattered on the floor. The sound echoed like a gunshot in the silent room. It was Finley. But it wasn't his Finley. This wasn't the girl who hunted for 2-for-1 coupons at the grocery store. This woman's skin glowed with expensive treatments. Her posture was regal. Her eyes, usually warm and pleading, were cold, hard flint. "Finley?" Liam whispered, his voice cracking. Brad nudged him. "You know the Callaway rep? That's the waitress," Liam stammered, his brain misfiring. "What is she doing here? She must be stalking me." Panic seized him. If Vanessa found out his ex was crazy enough to sneak into his office building, he'd look weak. He had to handle this. He had to show strength. Before Mr. Sterling could speak, Liam stepped forward, breaking the line of employees. "Finley!" Liam barked, his voice filled with righteous indignation. "What the hell are you doing here?" The entire office gasped. Mr. Sterling looked like he was about to have a stroke. Finley turned slowly to face him. She didn't look surprised. She looked bored. "Excuse me?" she said, her voice smooth and dangerous. "You can't just follow me to work because I dumped you," Liam shouted, gaining confidence from the silence of the room. He walked toward her, gesturing wildly. "I know you're hurting, and I know you need money, but this is a place of business. You're embarrassing yourself. Security." He looked around for the guards, but the two men in black suits flanking Finley stepped forward, blocking his path. They were built like tanks. "Liam, stop!" Mr. Sterling shrieked, running over. "What are you doing?" "I'm handling a security breach, sir," Liam said, puffing out his chest. "This is my ex-girlfriend. She's a waitress. She's mentally unstable and obviously couldn't handle the breakup. I'll escort her out." Liam reached out to grab Finley's arm. "Don't touch me," Finley said. She didn't shout. She didn't need to. The command had the weight of a falling anvil. Liam froze, his hand hovering in the air. Finley looked at him, then turned to Mr. Sterling. "Robert," she said, addressing the CEO by his first name. Is this the level of competence I can expect from your staff? Junior analysts assaulting the majority shareholder? Liam blinked. Shareholder? Finley, stop acting. You can barely afford your rent. Finley finally looked at Liam directly. A cruel smile touched her lips. Rent? She laughed. A dry, humorless sound. Liam, I own the building. She snapped her fingers. One of the bodyguards opened a briefcase and handed her a thick file. My name, she announced to the room, her voice carrying to every stunned corner of the floor, is Finley Genevieve Calloway. My family owns Calloway Global, which means, as of last Tuesday, I own Sterling and Finch. She took a step closer to Liam, who was now trembling. The color had drained from his face so completely he looked like a corpse. And you, she whispered, loud enough for Brad and the others to hear, are the man who left me $300 for my trouble. Do you have any idea how insulted I was? Not by the money, Liam, but by the fact that you thought my worth could be calculated at all. I didn't know, Liam squeaked. Finley, babe, it was a joke, a test. I was testing you. Were you? Finley raised an eyebrow. Funny, because for the last 2 years, I was testing you. I wanted to know if you loved me, or if you just loved the idea of success. I think we both know the answer. She turned back to Mr. Sterling. Robert, I want a full audit of the junior analyst division. Start with Mr. Liam's accounts. I have a feeling his expense reports are as fabricated as his personality. Right away, Miss Calloway, Sterling said, bowing his head. Liam, get to your desk. Now. Actually, Finley interjected. No, I don't want him at a desk. She looked Liam up and down, inspecting his new Italian suit with the same disdain Vanessa had shown her trench coat. We're short-staffed in the mailroom, aren't we, Robert? I believe the position pays. Minimum wage? Sterling nodded vigorously. Whatever you say, Miss Calloway. Finley smiled at Liam. You wanted to be part of the empire, Liam. You wanted to start from the bottom and work your way up? Here's your chance. Report to the basement. You can start by sorting my fan mail. You can't do this, Liam whispered, humiliated tears pricking his eyes as Brad and the other colleagues openly stared. I can, Finley said, turning her back on him. And Liam, if you're late, I'm docking your pay. I know you have expensive tastes to maintain now. She walked toward the CEO's office, the sea of employees parting for her like the Red Sea. Liam stood alone in the center of the bullpen, the new suit suddenly feeling like a clown costume, but the nightmare was only beginning. Because Finley wasn't just going to fire him, she was going to break him, and she hadn't even started on Vanessa yet. The basement of Sterling and Finch did not smell like power. It smelled of toner dust, stale cleaning supplies, and shattered dreams. For 3 days, Liam had been relegated to level B2. His Italian suit was now covered in gray dust from hauling archive boxes. His hands, once manicured for shaking hands with CEOs, were covered in paper cuts. Courier, a voice barked from the loading dock. Liam flinched. It was barely 10 a.m. My name is Liam, he muttered, grabbing a stack of inter-office envelopes. I don't care if your name is the King of England, the mailroom supervisor. A gruff man named Hank, who seemed to enjoy Liam's misery a little too much, shouted, Get these to the 40th floor, and take the service elevator. Miss Calloway doesn't want unauthorized personnel in the glass lifts. The 40th floor. That was where he used to work. Liam pushed the heavy mail cart into the service elevator, staring at his reflection in the scuffed metal doors. He looked exhausted. Dark circles rimmed his eyes. He hadn't slept because he was living a double life that was becoming impossible to sustain. He hadn't told Vanessa. Every night, he went home to her penthouse, which he was slowly realizing was strangely empty of personal staff for a billionaire, showered off the basement smell, and put on a fresh suit before she saw him. He told her he was working on a deep-dive due diligence project, a top-secret merger that required him to work in a secure facility without windows or cell service. Vanessa, too self-absorbed to question why a junior analyst was given such clearance, just nodded and asked if it came with a raise. The elevator dinged at the 40th floor. Liam kept his head down, praying for invisibility. He dropped envelopes at the reception desk, hoping to sprint back to the safety of the elevator. Liam, is that you? He froze. It was Brad. Brad was leaning against the break room door, holding a latte, grinning like a shark. Wow, Brad said, walking over and inspecting the mail cart. Top secret project, huh? Sorting the CEO's junk mail? That's some high-level clearance. Shut up, Brad, Liam hissed, checking over his shoulder. Does she know I'm up here? Miss Calloway? Brad laughed. She's in a board meeting dismantling the Asian market strategy. She doesn't have time for mailroom boys. But hey, she did leave a memo for everyone. Brad handed Liam a glossy, heavy cardstock invitation. It was cream-colored with gold leaf lettering. The Calloway Foundation, Annual Gala, Saturday night. The Grand Ballroom, Hotel Monteleone. Mandatory attendance for all Sterling and Finch employees. It's the event of the season, Brad said, tapping the card. Usually, junior staff isn't invited. But Miss Calloway, made a special exception this year. She wants the whole family there. Plus ones are encouraged. Liam stared at the card. A gala. Vanessa had been talking about the Calloway Gala all week. She had been complaining that her invitation must have been lost in the mail because the Kensingtons were always on the VIP list. I can't go, Liam said, panic rising in his throat. If I go with Vanessa, and she sees me, if she finds out I'm not a VP, if you don't go, Brad whispered, leaning in, you're fired. Explicit instructions. Absences will be treated as resignations. Liam felt the walls closing in. If he went, Finley would humiliate him. If he didn't go, he'd lose the job and the meager paycheck he needed to keep up the charade with Vanessa. That night, the situation got worse. Liam sat in Vanessa's living room, nursing a scotch he couldn't afford. Vanessa stormed in, throwing her designer bag onto the couch. It's insulting, she shrieked. Daddy called. The Kensingtons didn't get a VIP table this year. They put us in Zone B. Can you imagine? Zone B is for doctors and lawyers, Liam, not dynasties. She turned to him, her eyes blazing. But you, she pointed a manicured finger at him, you work for them, now. You're on the transition team. You can get us in, right? You can get us the head table? Liam swallowed hard. Vanessa, I don't think I have that kind of pull yet. The project is strictly confidential. Oh, stop it, Vanessa snapped. You said you were important. If you can't even get your girlfriend a decent seat at a company party, what good are you? She walked over to the window, looking out at the city lights. Her voice dropped, losing its anger and replaced by a strange, desperate tremor. I need to be at that head table, Liam. People are talking. Rumors about my father's liquidity problems. If I show up in Zone B, they'll think it's true. I need to be seen with the Calloways. I need Finley Calloway to publicly acknowledge us. Liam watched her, a sudden, chilling realization washing over him. Vanessa wasn't just a snob. She was drowning, just like him. She's counting on me, Liam thought. She thinks I'm her lifeline. I'll handle it, Liam lied. The words tasted like ash. I'll talk to management. We'll go, and we'll look like royalty. Vanessa turned back, her smile returning, bright and terrifying. I knew I picked the right one. Wear your tuxedo, darling. The black velvet one. We need to look like we own the place. Liam nodded, his stomach twisting into knots. He would go to the gala. He would walk into the lion's den with a woman who was only using him, to face a woman he had discarded, who now held his life in her hands. He looked at the invitation again. The gold letters seemed to shimmer, spelling out his doom. The grand ballroom of the Hotel Monteleone was dripping in excess. Chandeliers the size of small cars hung from the ceiling, casting a warm, golden glow over the hundreds of guests. A string quartet played softly in the corner, competing with the hum of gossip and the clinking of crystal champagne flutes. Liam adjusted his bow tie for the 10th time. He felt like he was walking to the gallows. Beside him, Vanessa was a vision of aggressive wealth. She wore a dress made of emerald silk that plunged dangerously low in the back. Adorned with diamonds, that Liam strongly suspected were rented. She gripped his arm, not with affection, but with a tension that bruised. "Head high, Liam," she hissed through a frozen smile. "Don't look at the floor. We belong here." They moved through the crowd. Liam scanned the room, terrified of seeing her. Every brunette woman in a gown made his heart stop. "Look," Vanessa whispered, nodding toward the center of the room. "There's the circle, the mayor, the senator, and is that her?" The crowd parted. Standing on a raised platform near the orchestra was Finley. If she had looked intimidating in the office, she looked otherworldly now. She wore a gown of midnight blue velvet that shimmered like the night sky. Around her neck sat the Callaway star, a sapphire necklace rumored to be worth more than the hotel they were standing in. She was laughing at something the mayor said, her head thrown back, radiating an easy, natural power that Vanessa had never possessed. "She's stunning," Liam whispered, involuntarily. Vanessa dug her nails into his arm. "She's just lucky. Come on, we're going to say hello." "Vanessa, no," Liam panicked, planting his feet. "We can't just walk up to her. There's protocol." "Screw protocol. I need a photo with her." Vanessa dragged him forward. Liam felt the sweat trickling down his back. This was it. The end. As they approached the circle, Finley's eyes flicked toward them. She didn't look surprised. She smiled, a sharp, predatory smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Ah," Finley said, her voice cutting through the chatter. "If it isn't the happy couple." The mayor and the senator turned to look. Vanessa beamed, stepping forward and extending a hand. "Miss Callaway," Vanessa purred, using her best socialite voice. "I'm Vanessa Kensington. We met briefly. Well, under different circumstances. I wanted to formally welcome you to Seattle's inner circle. And this is my partner, Liam. He's one of your top strategists at Sterling and Finch." Silence fell over the group. Liam wanted the floor to open up and swallow him whole. He couldn't look Finley in the eye. He stared at her sapphire necklace, praying for a sudden earthquake. Finley didn't shake Vanessa's hand. She just looked at it, then looked at Liam. "Strategist?" Finley repeated, tasting the word. "Is that what he told you?" Vanessa's smile faltered slightly. "Well, yes. He's running the due diligence on the merger. Top clearance." Finley laughed. It was a soft, musical sound that sent shivers down Liam's spine. "Liam," she said gently, stepping closer to him, "you have such a vivid imagination." She turned to the mayor. "Mr. Mayor, allow me to introduce Liam. He is indeed an employee of mine. He is currently the junior assistant to the mailroom supervisor." A ripple of quiet gasps went through the circle. The senator coughed into his drink. Vanessa went rigid. She dropped Liam's arm as if he were radioactive. "What?" "Mailroom," Finley clarified, her eyes locking onto Vanessa's. "Level B, 2. He sorts the letters, and frankly, he's not very good at it yet. He misfiled 3 invoices yesterday." Liam closed his eyes. It was over. Vanessa turned to him, her face a mask of horror and fury. "Liam, is this true?" "To I-10. I was going to explain," Liam stammered. "He lied to you, Vanessa," Finley said, her voice dropping to a sympathetic coo that was entirely fake. "But don't be too hard on him. He has a habit of lying to women he thinks can upgrade his status. He did the same to me." Vanessa looked from Finley to Liam, her brain processing the humiliation. People were staring. Phones were out. This was going to be on social media in 5 minutes. You busboy," Vanessa hissed at Liam. "You told me you were an executive." "I was," Liam pleaded. "She demoted me." "But that's not the most interesting part," Finley interrupted, taking a sip of her champagne. "The interesting part is why you, Vanessa Kensington, are so desperate to be seen with a mailroom clerk." Finley signaled to a waiter, who handed her a sleek tablet. "I was doing some reading before the gala," Finley said, tapping the screen, reviewing the guest list and the credit checks. She turned the tablet so Vanessa could see it. "The Kensington estate is underwater, isn't it?" Finley asked, her voice loud enough for the immediate circle to hear. "Leveraged at 400%. Your father hasn't paid the mortgage on the downtown tower in 4 months. In fact, the bank was about to seize your assets next week." Vanessa went pale. Her arrogance evaporated, replaced by the terrified look of a trapped animal. That's, that's private financial information. It was private, Finley corrected, until this afternoon. You see, the bank that holds your family's debt? Callaway Global bought it at 4 p.m. today. Finley took a step closer to Vanessa, lowering her voice to a whisper that carried like a scream. I own your debt, Vanessa. I own your father's building. I own the lease on that penthouse you're staying in. And I definitely own the loan on that Porsche you drove here. Vanessa trembled. Tears of sheer panic welled in her eyes. Please, Vanessa whispered. Don't do this here. Why not? Finley asked innocently. Liam broke up with me in a diner to save face. I thought we were doing public humiliations now? Isn't that the game? Finley looked at the two of them, the broken mailroom boy in the velvet tuxedo, and the bankrupt socialite in the rented diamonds. You two are perfect for each other, Finley declared. Both fakes. Both trying to climb a ladder that I built. Liam, you wanted a rich woman? Well, Vanessa needs a rich man. It seems you both made a terrible investment. Finley turned back to the crowd, her face lighting up with a genuine, charismatic smile. Enjoy the party, everyone. And please, do try the crab cakes. They're exquisite. She turned and walked away, the velvet of her dress trailing behind her like regal robes. Liam and Vanessa were left standing in the center of the ballroom, isolated in a spotlight of shame. The circle of elites had already turned their backs, the conversation resuming, as if the two imposters didn't exist. You're broke? Liam whispered to Vanessa, betrayal coloring his voice. You sort mail? Vanessa shot back, venom in her tone. I can't believe I left her for you, Liam muttered, watching Finley dance with a handsome European diplomat across the room. And I can't believe I wasted a dress rental on you, Vanessa spat, but Finley wasn't done. The humiliation was just the appetizer. The real lesson was about to begin, because in the world of Finley Callaway, you didn't just defeat your enemies, you made them work for you. Monday morning arrived with a bleak inevitability. Liam walked into the mailroom, his tuxedo returned to the rental shop, his pride left somewhere on the floor of the Hotel Monteleone. He expected to be fired. He expected a security guard to escort him out. Instead, he found a new ID badge waiting for him. Liam J., assistant to the Director of Sanitation Services. Hank, the mailroom supervisor, looked at him with pity. She moved you again, kid. You're not sorting mail anymore. You're overseeing the cleaning crews. Night shift. Night shift? Liam slumped against the wall. But Vanessa dumped me. I have nowhere to stay. I was crashing on her couch until she kicked me out yesterday. Well, Hank shrugged, handing him a mop. At least you can sleep in the break room during the day, rent-free. Liam's life had become a cyclical hell. By night, he supervised the cleaning of the offices where he used to work. He watched as his former colleagues, Brad included, left late, laughing and ordering Uber Blacks, while he pushed a cart of cleaning supplies. By day, he slept on a cot in the basement, dreaming of the diner, dreaming of Finley in her beige trench coat. He realized now that the coat wasn't a sign of poverty. It was a sign of indifference. She didn't care about clothes because she owned the world. 2 weeks later, the final blow landed. Liam was buffing the marble floors of the main lobby at 3 a.m. when the elevator dinged. Finley walked out. She was wearing a simple gray tracksuit, her hair in a messy bun, holding a tablet. She looked tired but focused. She stopped when she saw him. Missed a spot, she said, pointing to a scuff mark near the fountain. Liam turned off the buffer. The silence of the empty lobby was heavy. Why are you doing this, Finley? He asked, his voice hoarse. Just fire me. Let me go. I haven't fired you because you haven't quit, Finley said, walking over to the fountain and sitting on the edge. And you haven't quit because you have nowhere else to go. No other firm in the city will hire you. I made sure of that. Your reputation is radioactive. So this is it? Slavery? It's education, Liam. She looked at him, her eyes not angry but analytical. You wanted to be a leader. You wanted to run a company, but you don't know the first thing about what a company is. She gestured to the empty building. You thought business was about suits and dinners and knowing the right people. You thought it was about Vanessa Kensington. But look around you. Who keeps this building running? The cleaners, the mailroom, the people you never looked at, the people you stepped over. Liam looked at his hands, calloused and gray from the cleaning fluid. I see them now, he whispered. Good, Finley said. She stood up. Because tomorrow, you're getting a promotion. Liam looked up, hope flickering in his chest. Back to analyst? No, Finley smiled. You're going to be the personal assistant to the new project manager for the Kensington acquisition. Kensington acquisition? Liam frowned. We finalized the seizure of the Kensington assets this morning, returning their downtown tower into affordable housing and a community center. It's a massive project. And who is the project manager? The doors opened. A woman walked in. She wore a sensible business suit, holding a clipboard. She looked humble, but efficient. It was Vanessa. But it wasn't the Vanessa of before. No makeup, no jewelry. She looked exhausted, humbled, and terrified. Vanessa? Liam gasped. Hi, Liam, she said quietly. She looked at Finley. Miss Calloway, thank you for the opportunity. I won't let you down. I need this job. My father, he's in a bad way. Finley nodded. You start at 8 a.m. Liam reports to you. You answer to me. If either of you tries to leverage your position, or steal, or lie, you're both out on the street. And I know you both know how cold it is out there now. Finley walked toward the door. Work together, or don't. It's up to you. But this is the only ladder left. The next 6 months were the hardest of Liam's life. Working under Vanessa was a special kind of torture at first. She was bitter, exacting, and terrified of failure. She made him fetch coffee, redo spreadsheets, and personally inspect construction sites in the rain. But something shifted around month 3. They were in the trailer at the construction site of the former Kensington Tower. It was pouring rain. The roof was leaking. We're going to miss the deadline for the plumbing inspection, Vanessa said, head in her hands. Finley, Miss Calloway is going to kill me. Liam looked at the blueprints. He remembered something from his time in the basement. A loophole in the city's scheduling he had heard the maintenance guys talking about. We can file for an emergency variance, Liam said. It costs an extra $50, but it gets the inspector here within 24 hours. I know the form number. Vanessa looked at him. For the first time, she didn't look at him like a servant or a trophy. She looked at him like a partner. Do it, she said. They worked until midnight. They ate cold pizza on the floor of the trailer. They didn't talk about galas or Porsches. They talked about copper piping and zoning laws. Slowly, the dynamic changed. They stopped performing for an invisible audience. They started working. Liam learned that Vanessa actually had a sharp mind for logistics. She had just never been allowed to use it because her father only wanted her to be a decoration. Vanessa learned that Liam, stripped of his arrogance, was diligent and creative. They weren't in love. That fantasy had died long ago, but they were becoming something else. A team, a survival unit. One evening in November, Finley called them into her office. It was the first time Liam had been on the top floor since the incident. The view was spectacular. The city lights twinkled below. Finley sat behind her massive oak desk. She didn't look up as they entered. The Kensington Community Center opened yesterday, she said, flipping through a report. Under budget. Ahead of schedule. Full occupancy. We worked hard, Vanessa said, her voice steady. I know, Finley said. She finally looked up. You two have done adequate work. She slid 2 envelopes across the desk. Your final paychecks, she said. Liam's heart stopped. You're firing us? No, Finley said. I'm dissolving the rehabilitation project. You two aren't assistants anymore. She stood up and walked to the window. Vanessa, I'm putting you in charge of the West Coast Property Division. You know these buildings better than anyone, and you've proven you can actually work, not just point. Vanessa gasped, tears filling her eyes. Thank you, Finley. Thank you. And Liam, Finley turned to him. Her expression was unreadable. You're going to London. London? Callaway Global is opening a new branch. We focus on ethical investing, startups that help people. No predatory loans, no hard karma drama, real work. She walked over to him. For a moment, the ghost of the girl from the diner flickered in her eyes. You're going as a senior analyst. You earned it. Not because of your suit, but because I saw you unclog a drain at the community center last week without complaining. Liam stood straighter. I don't know what to say. Say nothing, Finley said. Just go. And Liam, don't make me regret it. 3 years later, the London fog didn't just sit on the city. It embraced it. It was a thick, gray blanket that muffled the sounds of the bustling metropolis, turning the morning commute into a ghostly procession of umbrellas and trench coats. Liam sat in the corner of the roastery, a small, industrial-chic cafe in Shoreditch that smelled of roasted beans and damp wool. Outside, the cobblestones glistened with the relentless drizzle. It was a far cry from the hermetically sealed, air-conditioned glass tower of Sterling and Finch in Seattle. There were no marble floors here, no intimidating security guards, and certainly no $300 lunches. And Liam loved it. He adjusted the cuffs of his sweater, a sensible, charcoal wool knit that he had bought on sale at a high street shop. The Rolex was gone, sold years ago, to pay a security deposit on a modest flat in Hackney. In its place was a simple leather strap watch that told the time, nothing more. On the wooden table before him spread a chaotic array of blueprints and budget proposals. He wasn't analyzing stock trends or finding loopholes to help billionaires avoid taxes anymore. The header on the document read, Project Maji, Sustainable Water Infrastructure for Rural Kenya. He took a sip of his black coffee. It was hot, bitter, and grounded him in reality. He picked up his pen, circling a line item regarding filtration units. Too expensive, he muttered to himself. If we switch to local sourcing for the gravel, we can save 12%. The cafe door chime jingled, a bright sound that cut through the low hum of conversation. A gust of cold air swept through the room. Liam didn't look up immediately. He was too engrossed in the logistics of gravel transport. But then, the atmosphere in the cafe seemed to shift. The chatter at the nearby tables quieted down. It was a subtle change, a magnetic pull that Liam recognized instantly. It was the feeling of gravity entering a room. He froze, his pen hovering over the paper. The hair on the back of his neck stood up. He knew that presence. He hadn't felt it in 3 years. Not since he boarded a one-way flight at SeaTac Airport with 2 suitcases and a terrified heart. He looked up. Standing near the entrance, shaking rain off a beige umbrella, was a woman. She was dressed in a trench coat classic, camel-colored, impeccably tailored, that struck Liam with a wave of déjà vu so potent it nearly knocked the wind out of him. It was an echo of the coat she had worn in the diner that fateful night, but this version was armor, not a disguise. It was Finley. She turned, scanning the room with those sharp, intelligent eyes that missed nothing. Her gaze swept over the hipsters with their laptops, the baristas, and finally landed on him. There was no shock in her expression, no hesitation. She walked toward him, her heels clicking a steady, rhythmic beat on the wooden floorboards. Liam scrambled to stand up, his chair scraping loudly against the floor. Finley? His voice cracked, rusty with disbelief. Hello, Liam, she said. Her voice was the same, smooth, commanding, yet laced with a new layer of warmth he hadn't heard since they were dating. You chose a hard place to find. I had to ask 3 different cab drivers. I didn't know you were in London, Liam stammered, his mind racing. Was this it? Was she here to fire him? To pull the rug out from under him, just as he was finding his footing? Is everything okay with the branch? The Kenya numbers are solid. I was just adjusting the... Sit down, Liam, she said, a small smile playing on her lips. I'm not here for an audit. She pulled out the chair opposite him and sat. She signaled a waiter with a subtle raise of her hand, a gesture of power that she had perfected. Earl Grey. Hot? Liam sank back into his chair, his heart hammering against his ribs. He looked at her, really looked at her. She looked tired, but it was a good tired. The exhaustion of someone who builds things, not someone who destroys them. I'm here for the global summit, Finley explained, unbuttoning her coat. But I had a few hours before my flight to Tokyo. I wanted to see it for myself. See what? You, she said simply. Her eyes dropped to the table, taking in the messy papers, the half-drunk coffee, the worn notebook filled with frantic scribbles. She picked up the proposal for the water project. She read the summary in silence, her face unreadable. Liam held his breath. Her approval still mattered to him, more than he cared to admit. Not because she was his boss, but because she was the architect of his entire reality. Local sourcing for the gravel, she noted, tapping the page where he had just been working. Smart. That saves the project 12%. That's enough to drill 2 extra wells. That's what I was thinking, Liam exhaled, relief washing over him. Finley placed the paper down and leaned back, studying him. You look different. You're not wearing gel. And that sweater, it actually fits you. I stopped trying to look like the person I wanted to be, Liam said quietly, and started trying to be the person I am. And who is that? A guy who works hard, Liam said. A guy who knows the names of the cleaning staff in this building. A guy who is happy. Finley nodded slowly. The waiter placed her tea on the table. She took a sip, the steam curling around her face. I saw Vanessa last week, Finley said suddenly. Liam flinched. The name still carried a phantom sting, though it had faded significantly. How is she? Is she still running the West Coast division? She is, Finley said. She's terrifying, actually. She negotiates with contractors like a shark. She paid off her father's debt entirely last month. Every cent. That's amazing, Liam said, and to his surprise, he meant it. She hated construction sites when we started. She wouldn't step in the mud. She owns a pair of steel-toed boots now, Finley laughed softly. She lives in a small 2-bedroom house in the suburbs, drives a Subaru. She told me to tell you hello, she said. She said you were the only person who ever told her the truth, even if you were lying about yourself at the time. We were both drowning, Liam reflected, looking out the window at the rain. We just grabbed onto each other to stay afloat. You were idiots, Finley corrected him, but her tone lacked the venom of the past. But you were my idiots. I couldn't just leave you there. She reached across the table. For a second, Liam thought she was going to slap him. Instead, she placed her hand over his. Her skin was warm. The contact was electric, not with romance, but with a profound, shared history. I loved you, Liam, she said, her voice dropping to a whisper. Back in the diner, when you slid that $300 across the table, it didn't just break my heart, it shattered my faith in people. I wanted to destroy you. I wanted to burn your world down. You did, Liam whispered. You incinerated it. I had to, Finley said, her eyes locking onto his. If I had just let you go, if I had just cried and walked away, you would have spent your entire life chasing the wrong things. You would have married Vanessa, or someone like her. You would have spent 40 years accumulating debt and ulcers, thinking that happiness was a number in a bank account. You would have died empty. Liam looked down at their hands. I hated you for a long time. When I was scrubbing those floors in the basement, I plotted your murder 1,000 times. I know, Finley said, but look at you now. She pulled her hand back and gestured to the cafe, the work, the man sitting before her. You're building wells in Kenya, Liam. You're solving problems. You have dignity. You have a soul. I had to break your ego to find the man underneath it. You saved me, Liam admitted. The realization hit him with the force of a physical blow. It was the most painful thing anyone has ever done to me. But you saved me. Finley stood up. She buttoned her coat, shielding herself once again in the armor of the Callaway Empire. Where are you going? Liam asked, standing up with her. Tokyo, she said. There's a tech merger I need to dismantle. Will I see you again? Finley paused. She looked at him one last time, memorizing the image of the man who had once left her for a richer woman, not knowing she was the fortune. She saw the lines of hard work on his face, the clarity in his eyes. Probably not, she said honestly. The lesson is over, Liam. You don't need a teacher anymore. Did I pass? Liam asked, a boyish vulnerability creeping back into his voice. Finley smiled. It was a genuine smile, one that reached her eyes and lit up the gloomy London afternoon. You're drinking black coffee in a shop that doesn't serve champagne, Worrying about gravel prices to save lives, she said. Yes, Liam, you passed. She turned and walked out of the cafe. Liam watched her go. He watched the beige trench coat disappear into the swirl of the London fog, swallowed by the city. He didn't run after her. He didn't feel the desperate need to possess her or to prove himself to her. A strange peace settled over him. He sat back down. He picked up his pen. The coffee was cold now, but he drank it anyway. He looked at the blueprint for the water filtration system. There was work to do, real work. And for the first time in his life, Liam realized he was exactly where he was meant to be. He had lost the girl, lost the suit, and lost the status. But as he circled the budget item again, he smiled. He had found something far more valuable. He had found himself. And that is how Liam learned the hardest lesson of his life. True wealth isn't what you wear, it's what you're willing to work for. He chased the glitter of Vanessa and lost the diamond that was Finley, only to find himself in the process. Finley didn't just get revenge. She gave him a future, proving that sometimes hitting rock bottom is the only way to build a solid foundation. What would you have done if you were Finley? Would you have given Liam a second chance? Or left him in the mailroom forever? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this story of karma, redemption, and high-stakes drama, please smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. Turn on notifications so you never miss a story. We post new dramas every week. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.